conversation. I'm delighted Maxine is back with us. Maxine from Never Too Late, our journey. I had a mental block then. I'm going to carry on. Paul from Narrowboat Life Unlocked. Oh my goodness, that's not a good start to the week. Today we are going to be talking about rituals. What role does rituals play in creating a more meaningful life? But before we get on to that, let's find out where you both are and what you've been up to. Maxine, where are you?
We're on the Oxford Canal and we're about 5-10 minutes, well, no, probably a bit longer, probably about 3 miles from Brinklow Marina. So just in the middle of nowhere, really, for the time being.
Nice.
And we've not been up to much. Obviously, we had to shoot back up to where we used to live last week. We have celebrated Steve's 60th birthday, which was fun. And I just keep reminding him how old he is now, so which he's not amused about.
That's horrible.
Our friend Jeff turned 60 last week as well. So, you know, it's we're all sort of getting old, aren't we? All of we're just getting old. Do you like being in the middle of nowhere? Is that your sort of favourite moorings?
I love it. Absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah. Especially when it's got a wide towpath, because it's easy for Mexie and she likes causing havoc and running around and everything. So
Lovely. Brilliant. Paul, where are you and what have you been up to?
Well, we're heading off the Llangollen Canal. We spent a couple of days at Whitchurch, which was nice because it was fabulous internet. And then I decided we need to get off this canal and we've only got a few days to do it because we're so busy at this time of year. Yeah. So yesterday I travelled through 10 locks and a lift bridge solo. And it was definite training, but I was so lucky because bumped into somebody who knew us, another boater, and he helped me to do the first 6 locks. Would you believe?
Oh, that was nice.
It makes such a difference, doesn't it? It makes such a difference. So fabulous. Like that is proper solo boating, doing that sort of travel on your own.
Yeah, but it's the lift bridge that was more worrying than anything else.
I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people do it on their own. So well, thanks, Paul. What have we been up to? Well, we've been out on the boat this week, which was brilliant. And we're now down at the caravan and we've done some work as well. So we're sort of jamming it all in this week. It's been a busy old week. I've just noticed my hair is actually sticking up, but we'll go with that. We'll go with it. So I just want to say hello to Joe, who's watching from Christchurch in New Zealand. Hi, Joe. Thanks for joining us. So, and Alfie. Oh, good afternoon from a miserable, rainy Sheffield. The rain, there's a lot of it about, isn't there?
There is.
When we drove down last night, torrential rain we drove through. So, anyway, right, shall we crack on? Rituals. Now, I've just noticed Chloe. Chloe had popped up there. That's my daughter, Chloe. I'm give Chloe a special wave as well. So, Chloe's working from home today. So, right, we're talking about rituals today, and this follows on from our conversation last week about habits and routines. Now, I think we've covered rituals before, but worth revisiting because I see rituals as routines with superpowers. Right, that's the way I see it. It's like habits, routines, rituals, and that's where it's all at. So let's have a think about rituals. What are they? Well, the way I see them is that they're routines that have special meaning. So we were talking just before we came on air about Japanese tea rituals. Now, the Japanese have taken having a cup of tea to a whole nother level. They've, embedded so much meaning in that whole activity. So, is it possible to create rituals out of everyday things to make our lives richer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it does. I'm struggling to get my head around this, to be honest, Lisa, because to me, I know what you're saying. It's a ritual is a routine that is it brings superpower to that routine. I just don't feel like I have any rituals.
Do you not? So have you? Okay, let's take it right back to the basics, right? Can you remember a TV program or an activity? I was going to say like going to a football match or something, but I'm not, but some sort of activity, everyday activity, like a program that you would love, and it would be like for me, Bake Off, right? It's Bake Off. We get a cake and we sit down, and it's an everyday activity, but with more meaning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you think of anything, like, again, I'm saying football, and that's because I think a lot of people who watch football or a sport, there's a lot of ritual involved in that. The process of getting the right attire on, putting your scarf on, going to the match with certain people, and enjoying, the process becomes more meaningful. Does that make any sense?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I suppose the nearest that I can get to that is probably if we have friends round and we decide to have a game of cards. And sometimes it's just easier to chat or watch a film. But when we have a game of cards and we get the nibbles out and we sit and have a drink and we can still chat and have a really good conversation, and it just feels like a really good night.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, because it's not just playing cards, is it? It's all those activities, the friends, the getting the nibbles out, the getting the wine out, the playing the cards, the conversation. It becomes something more than the sum of its parts. Does that would you say that? Thanks, Paul. What about you, Maxine? Can you think of any rituals that you have had in the past that have had special, meaning?
Yeah, I suppose it's a good one is like at Christmas time or when the family all get together. And I think you've just reminded me, because we play cards as a family, and it's the sitting around, everything goes off, and it's just we all enjoy it, but it's not just playing the game. We have lots of laughs and giggles, and it brings back memories as well. And we start reminiscing of things that happened, even though we're still concentrating playing cards, and we just have fun together. And and it happens every time all of us get together. We always play cards, and it doesn't matter how small or how big the family is that's there. It's just something we all do.
Yeah. That's excellent. It's funny, isn't it, how the cards, although in both those cases, the cards is the activity, but actually it's just the vehicle. It's just the vehicle that we use. I would say, and I think I mentioned this before, is that our family meal times when the kids were growing up were routine, and then they became ritualized because it was this time every single day where we gathered, we connected, we ate dinner, but actually that was, it was the coming together, and it felt much more than just routine. Let's have a look what everyone's saying. Hello, locking through life. That's Phil, isn't it? Is that Phil? Hello, Phil. Mark from Yet Another Canal Adventure. Tapping the teaspoon rhythmically on each cup of tea that is made. That sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. I do that.
So it could be like a physical act, as you said, Mark, of like tapping the teacup, but it's more the intention behind the activity. So if by tapping the teaspoon it brings you to that moment where you you know, appreciate that tea that you've just made, then that physical action ties you in. It connects you to that present moment. Does that? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
In my head, perfect. Yeah. So, Linda, she's got snow. She's got snow in Michigan, so we're jealous. We've just got rain. So, Mark, yes, or a member of the family taking a turn to stir the Christmas pudding mixture. Yes, exactly. That may be something you routinely do every Christmas when you make that pudding mixture, but it's the fact of you coming together. It's the intention that behind the action. So that is spot on. Hello to John and hello to Kath as well. So if rituals are the key to being more present and to making life feel more special, how can we incorporate more rituals into our daily life? It's a big question. I don't expect a short, pithy answer.
I'm good at short answers, Lisa.
You are. But I mean,
you've been very kind. I think, to bring more meaning to what you're doing. I mean, for me, I suppose a ritual for me is once I've took Dexter for a walk, I love the ritual of making a cup of coffee on the stovetop and sitting down and reading my Kindle. And if I could just read a couple of chapters, that's a ritual that I really enjoy and makes me feel like I've, made time for myself in the day.
That is spot on, actually, Paul, because there's activities there. So making coffee, I think, is one of the joys in life. I mean, because it smells so good, basically. But the making of a cup of coffee, that sitting down and reading, they're all great activities that bring us into this moment. And I think by elevating something from that routine to a ritual means that you sort of ring fence it, don't you? You're like, this is important to me. I'm going to make this coffee. I'm going to enjoy this coffee. I'm going to read the Kindle. And that's a perfect example. Yes, short and pithy answer there, Paul. Well done. Well done. Yes. Maxine, have you got any rituals currently, or can you think of any way that you can elevate any routines to ritual status?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I get up every morning. Mexi and I go for a nice walk. It doesn't matter what the weather's like. It's something that I do. It just clears my head. And then when I come back, I write a journal, and I always write that in the mornings. I just sit down, and it doesn't matter what's happening around, what anybody else wants, what Steve wants or Mexi wants. It doesn't matter. It's my time. And I love doing that, and it just clears my head and sets me up for the day.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because that ties in to what we were saying last week about how morning routines and end of day routines are really essential, and that's a routine that you've got there that is really special to you, which then becomes a ritual. Do you know what I've had rituals in the past that I've really enjoyed, but thinking about it from last week when we were talking about routines and whether they're the key to changing your life, it made me realize how many rituals I've lost along the way. So obviously some change over time. So the rituals we had, say, at Christmas when the kids were younger, they don't exist anymore. It's like, they have their own rituals on Christmas Eve with their own families. That's so some evolve over time. And I was thinking this morning, it's funny that Chloe popped up, actually, because I'd messaged her just before we came online, because I was thinking about rituals. that I've lost that I miss. And Chloe, myself and Glenn, every Saturday morning we'd meet for breakfast, and it was routine. And then it became more than that, because I just used to really love that. We have not done that now. Oh, I think it's when we moved to Ivanhoe in the boat. You know, we were just too far out. And I really miss that. And I messaged Chloe just before we came on saying, I miss our breakfast. So, you know, it's, I think they do change over time, don't they? What applies one year doesn't apply the next. Can you see that in your life, Maxine and Paul? You know?
Yeah. Your lives evolve and things change, and as you said, because the family grow up and everything. I mean, we have a ritual at, as you say, Christmas. It was like in the mornings you had to wait to go downstairs, and that was when I was a child as well, to see if Father Christmas had been. And then when Dad shouts, "Yes, he's been," you could all go downstairs. And but obviously, as everybody grows up, you can't carry on doing it.
No.
You know, so you have to find new things.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's the way it is. So, what about you, Paul? Can you see that, you know, as you look back over your life?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I used to live really close to my parents, and I used to see them nearly every day, and it was nice to walk the dog through the woods and then pop in and see my mum and dad for a cup of coffee. So I quite missed that. But and then another things, and you've reminded me as well, Maxine, that, you know, a habit that I've got out of is doing a journal, which I used to do every day, and I really need to get back into that, because it does make you think about what you've got and what you've achieved and what you've done that week. And I think, you know, journal is a brilliant thing to do. Other things, I don't know really. I suppose the Christmas thing we still do, so we still try and see our parents on Christmas Day, even if we're going to spend Christmas Day with other friends. We still try and visit our parents in the morning. That's quite nice.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, that like celebrations, so birthdays, you know, holidays, Christmases, those important events, that we find that they already feel like they have special meaning. So the activities we do on those days feel like a ritual, because we've embedded it with that, you know, that special meaning already, isn't it? I think it's easier sometimes. So let's just have a look. Phil says, I wish I could join you in chat. Work keeps getting in the way. Get your head down. Get on with some work. It's fine. Louise from Narrowboat Changing Pace says, hello, lovely peoples. Hello. And Linda's, she's got to hop off, and she's going to watch the rest of the chat later. She's going out to enjoy the snow, I bet, because I would. Or I'd be just looking out the window, to be honest, at the snow. So that's cool. So last week, Maxine, we were talking about, just to recap on the routines and habits that we were talking about last week. So I made this association. It was all through taking my vitamins regularly. That something that I'd read in Atomic Habits years ago about habit stacking. And I'd basically then decided to take my vitamins in the morning when Glenn has a coffee. When I used to have a coffee, I replaced it with my vitamins. And then I had this realization that to change your life, so the things that you feel that sometimes that you're always failing in, mine generally are to eat good food and, you know, be more healthy, and not through lack of willpower, but lack of routines. And we were talking about routines and habits. So that's just a background of where we were. And Paul, you reminded me this morning that we didn't finish all the conversations about habits. So the question that I had is, what one habit would you like to create that would have the biggest impact on your life? Can you think of any? Can you think?
Probably Yeah, probably physical exercise, getting into that habit of doing that every day. Instead of thinking, oh, opening a couple of locks, that's my gym workout. But it's not really, is it?
Do you know what? Because I'd written in my notes for last week that actually walking would be the biggest one for me. Yeah. Because when I was training for the walk, I had a reason to get out there every day. Now I don't. I still love to walk, but it's not a routine. It's not a habit. And it certainly hasn't reached ritual status. So, I mean, how do we take these things that do have such a big impact in our life and take a habit, make it a routine, take a routine and make it a ritual? Does that make sense? I don't know. Is it just as easy as doing it over and over and over again so it becomes routine and then it becomes meaningful to our life because it's such an important part? Is it that simple, do we think? Maxine, you usually have this stuff all covered, so we're looking at you for some words of wisdom here. No pressure.
I think, because I'm terrible at it, I used to be every single day, I used to make sure I hit my 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
And of the last probably couple of months, I've let it really go down and just not been doing it. And when I do think I hit it, I think, wait, and it gives me a buzz. And I've got to get back into the habit. And I think if you've got an end goal while you're doing that, it helps you. So it can be a really small little thing. And I mean, it can be a prezi, or it can be if you want to lose weight or anything, it's just so you've got that end goal. And if you've got that in sight, then you've got to get up and you've got to go and do your 10,000 or whatever whatever you're wanting to do. And it's just getting back into your head, thinking, look, if I don't do these amount of steps or do whatever what you're wanting to do, I know mine's my steps, then you won't be able to fit into whatever your clothes that you want to do and things. And that's what's that's how I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and I have started doing my 10,000 because I know what I want, where I want to be in a few weeks' time, and it's just getting back to the routine.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Maxine, because some of those things have the opposite effect for me. They don't motivate me at all. Whereas the training to walk the long distance motivated me. So I think that's important, isn't it? About the motivation.
Everybody has different, different to motivate them. And I know what it's each individual's completely different. But if you don't have that motivation, then you're not going to keep into achieving your daily goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Maxine. Paul, you said exercise is one of the habits that would have the biggest change in your life. Can you see ever how you could elevate exercise to go from something,
that you want to do, and become a routine and a ritual.
You would ring fence that time for that. It would become almost sacred that you did that exercise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think of is to make yourself accountable and maybe make it public. So, we're all in a public forum. We could say, I'm going to lose a stone by this date, and then maybe, give money to charity. And if you fail, oh no, that's not good, is it?
The thing is, Paul,
donation. But then they probably think, oh, I'm really helping out that charity there by eating cake.
Yeah, the thing is, right, is people that watch, our channel will see me turn up on a Monday morning. This is it. I'm a new woman. Yeah. By Tuesday afternoon, no. So this is why it was such a revelation to me to understand that it's not willpower that's failing me, it's the lack of routine. But we did cover last week how difficult it is when you live a life that isn't governed by a routine that's similar to like living in a house, because in a boat you're on the move, or you know, for us we're in the boat, at the caravan, in the house. I mean, it's difficult to embed such a routine in such a changeable space. Do you think that's possible, Paul? Do you think finding time for that exercise?
I thought I would have more time on a boat, but if anything, you have less time. And I think because we both work a couple of days a week, it gives us 1 or 2 days to travel. And on those 2 days that we're off, we're trying to fit in all the things like going to the laundrette and going to the doctors and going to the dentist. And then it's I think it's more difficult to have a routine when you've not got that structure in your life of, say, a 9-to-5 job. I think it's more, and because you're in different places, I think it, you know, am I making excuses, or is it just
no? I think it's valid, Paul. I think it's valid. I think the not being in the same place is a big thing, because if, you know, I'm not saying you have to go to the gym to exercise, but it's like if you go to a gym or an exercise class or a yoga class every single week, it becomes routine, and then it becomes important to you because it makes you feel good, because you get the health benefits. But when you're moving all the time, it's difficult. You can't go to the same weekly yoga class that you did last week because you're in a different location.
So, or get yourself a fitness coach. It's difficult, isn't it?
It is. And because, you know, I'm working with a personal trainer, you know, at the moment, which I love. But next year, when I'm down in Devon, how's that going to work? You know, I already had to cancel this week because we were out on the boat and then at the caravan. And it's just like, how do you make those routines when you're where you are is changing? I just think that's you know, I just think it's tricky. I just think it may be getting in our way. I'm sure of the answers. So let's have a look. What's Kath saying? Kath, you've made me realise that as life has changed, I have no rituals. Like you, Lisa, I need to try and make a walk a ritual, and maybe a journal, although I struggle to see the advantages of journaling when I've tried before. Kath, I'm so with you. I'm so with you. I have so many notebooks and journals that aren't quite complete. You know, Glenn's just looked at me. Quite complete. It's just, I've got a heckler. Yeah, that's yeah, I'm with you, Kath, there. And so what would you say, Maxine? How to make journaling a habit? You've said it's really important to you. At what point when you started journaling did you see the benefits?
I think it's just because, well, one, it's fabulous to look back on. Even if sometimes you're writing things that are not particularly pleasant, it's still a good thing to look back, because you can see how you were and your ups and downs and things. But I think I found it within probably a couple of weeks, because it was just a really good way. But I still have gaps where I don't do it probably for a week, and then and I can tell the difference when I haven't done it. And so for me it's just something I know that it benefits me, because it gets all the crap basically out of my head and onto paper. And also when you're writing it down, if there is something that's really stressing you out, it doesn't look as bad when you've written it down, because you make things worse because it goes round and round in your head. And anyway, personally, so that's why it just makes, so it's just, but if you do try and start it, and as you say, you haven't completed yours, it's not the end of the world. You can go back to it. So, you know, even if you have a couple of weeks of break or what, you know, go back to it and start again. And the more and more you do it, the more the routine will start happening.
That has just made me remember something that I was going to mention last week. So things like a journal practice, meditation practice, yoga practice, they're called practice because you turn up to them every day with the aim of, I don't want to say getting better, that's not the right word, but do you know what I mean? It's that view that you are a work in progress, that you are not enhanced, I can't even think of the word, but do you know what I mean? Like getting better. It's you're turning up with that intention of knowing that you're not there yet, you're not at that destination, you're working towards it. Does that make any sense? Yeah, it does, again, in my head. I just want to say hello to Nikki, who's joining us. Hello, Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
And let's have a look. Kath says, I imagine a journal is lovely to look back on. Wish I'd kept a diary of my life to look back on. Me too. Wouldn't it be wonderful? I've got to tell you, though, a funny story. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with Glenn. So we've come down to the caravan to do the winter close down. And the conversation went like this. We were like, when did we come down last year in November to do it? And then we were talking about that, obviously, November was the month that we'd sold Nutshell, that Glenn was working at the job he's doing now. So he was having to do that travel and cruise and move the boat. And then we remembered a day that was particularly stressful, that Glenn rode a bike from where we were moored to work. And he got to work and he was literally like this with a bike. Yeah, he gave it away to someone at the end of the journey. He was like, I'm not doing that again. And then we were saying that I was going off somewhere and it was really important. I had to get the car. And we could remember it all. We can't remember where I was going, right? So I was like, was it here? Was it there? And then I was like, I'm just going to look back on the videos. I'm just going to look back. Our videos are a daily diary, if you like. Yeah. I'm going to look back on our videos later and see where I was off to when I had to take the car. So I agree. It is lovely to have a journal, a diary to look back on. So, and I feel really fortunate that our videos are that. So, Kath also says, now retired and no routines. Louise says, I'm not a big fan of routine, which I love. Yeah.
You don't have to read that, do you?
And hello to little Native crocheting too. So okay. So with all that said, how can you think of something that you do that you can elevate to ritual status, and let us know how you get on next week? What do you reckon, Paul? You've got your morning routine sorted. Maybe just that conscious thinking of it as a ritual. It would be interesting to see if it changes the experience.
You know what? I've just realised while we're talking, some of the routines and rituals that I've got out of is because sometimes there's no internet. So my journal was always an electronic journal where I could add photos to it, and I enjoyed that to look back on. And if you've no internet, you can't do it. And it's the same with my meditation is an online app. So this morning I went to do a meditation, really frustrated, couldn't do it. So I've got to find a way around that, really, haven't I? I can do a physical journal, which is easy enough.
I'm going to come back to that actually, Paul, because you bring up a good thing about the internet, which I'll come back to. Thanks for that. Can you give that a try though for us, and let us know next week how, just by observing what you already do in the mornings, but just by sort of being more mindful of the process of making the coffee and then sitting down with your Kindle, whether it's a richer experience just by changing the way you view it, you do it. That would be fascinating. Maxine, can you think of any sort of either a ritual you have now or one that you'd like to implement that you can feed back and tell us about next week?
I want to start yoga again. I keep doing yoga here, there, and very bits and bobs. So I'm going to start doing that more. So it'll be a morning routine to go along with my one. Yeah.
Can you tell us how you get on next week?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And can you, I mean, not that I'm trying to like create your morning for you, but, you know, give it that focus of a ritual rather, you know, elevate the status of it. I just want to, thanks, Maxine. I just want to come back, Paul, and say about what you're saying about the internet. So when we went out on Teal at the beginning of the week, we're trying to see where the problems could be with cruising and working as we are now, because when we cruised and worked previously, we were always either in a marina or on an off-grid mooring, so we had a permanent base. And we're trying to see how life is whilst being out on the cut and working. So internet was a huge problem, not for the work, because we were close enough to work. I could go to work and use the internet, but internet was a massive problem on Sunday night. We sat there and we were like, oh, you know, like what
we lost without it.
Everything we went to do or we talked about doing, we couldn't do. And I was like, how? We lived on a boat for 5 years, and I'm sure our life didn't revolve around internet. I am sure. But it just, when you said that, Paul, it just made me think, yeah, we know that pain. I mean, I've got no answers. I'm just stating that happened to us, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know. So, right. Narrowboat life of Riley. Hi guys, not been well and ended up in hospital. I now realise that staying in touch with people is very important habit to get into, especially as a solo boater. Life passes by very quickly. That is I hope you're feeling better.
That's Mike. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah,
our friends have got a boat called Riley as well. Sorry, Mike.
That might make such a great point there, doesn't it? Of that habit of getting, you know, keeping in touch with people. It's so difficult when life passes so quickly. I can't tell you. I've got a stack of letters that have been sent to us from all around the world from lovely people, and they're in a pile, and I'm like, I must write back. And, you know, thank them for taking the time, you know, to send a letter or a parcel. I must do that. And yet it's, you know, it's difficult. I've just realized what I can ritualize. Okay. So that process of being really present and mindful whilst writing letters, you know, like, you know, a special pen, you know, a beautiful card, taking the time to do that. I'm going to do that by next week, and I will let you know how that goes. A letter writing ritual. I'm excited. I am.
Actually, another trip to the stationers for Lisa.
Man, no. Well, maybe just a little one. Maybe just a little. I need a seal, you know, like in the olden days, a wax seal. That's what I need. Printed stationery. Oh, it's got to be. Well, that's my Christmas list sorted. Kath says, the thing about a ritual for me is that it should be something to look forward to. I don't fancy a ritual which I feel is important rather than enjoyable. Do only enjoyable activities become rituals? For me, probably. That is a wonderful question, Kath. I think so. I mean, I'm just trying to think of some rituals. Say if you've got family members that you don't enjoy visiting with, but you have do, it doesn't add that, it's
No joy.
it's I think it's all about the joy, the mindfulness, the being in that moment. I think that is yeah. Motorhomers are us. I stay every time. I've got, let me show you this one. Me too. I say every time we're away in the motorhome for years, I'll keep a journal / diary. I never do. I even brought a gorgeous travel journal when we had the camper van. Yeah, I brought a gorgeous journal. I wrote 2 pages in it, and then that was it. So, oh, Celtic Nomad just cropped up. Must be invisible. Bye. I don't think I'd seen it.
The comment below. We're not said hello. Hello in Bulgaria.
Oh, where's that? Oh, I can't see that one.
Just before Now About Life of Riley.
Let's have a look. Oh, I see. Hi again, guys. Britain, Bulgaria. Excellent. Celtic Nomad. Hello. So I'm so sorry. I'll pass that by. And all those hellos as well. So, yeah, honestly, can't be trusted to operate the chat system. So Mark said, watching this midweek chat might become a ritual. Oh, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Yes. That would be lovely. So I think we've got, well, to the end of it. Shall we report back? Let us know in the chat if you have something that you'll try as a ritual for a week and report back. Let us know. Kath put, letter writing is a bit like journaling, is it not? Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely. Right. Shall we go and give it a try then?
Yes.
Are you up for it?
I've made some notes.
You made some notes. We all know what we've got to do. We've got our homework. I'm going to go to the stationery shop and just get some nice cards for my letter writing, and then that'll be all good. So, right, guys, hope you have a fabulous week, and let's catch up next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Hope you're feeling better, Mike. And thanks to everyone who said hello as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See you soon. Bye.